Yesterday, Red Bull couldn't even run. Hydraulic failure. Garage doors closed. Cameras watching. Rivals smiling. 24 hours later, Max Verstappen walks back into the car, straps in, and delivers a long run so consistent that a Mercedes engineer called it depressing. Not impressive. Depressing. 1 minute 37 pace. 15 laps. Just 3/10 of variation. And here's the part nobody is talking about. He did it carrying more fuel than Ferrari. Which means this wasn't a headline run. It was a warning. Because while everyone focused on single-lap glory, Red Bull quietly revealed an aggressive aerodynamic package, a cooler running Ford power unit, and a floor design that could change the entire championship fight. And Laurent Mekies did not expect this level of response. So the real question is simple. Did Red Bull just sandbag the entire paddock, or are we witnessing the birth of another dominant machine before the season even begins? Subscribe now, because what happens next in Bahrain might decide the championship before race 1 even starts. But to understand why today felt so shocking, we need to go back to yesterday. Because this story did not start with dominance. It started with doubt. The RB22 was supposed to begin its Bahrain program with heavy mileage, correlation runs, aero-mapping, long fuel simulations. Instead, it sat still. Hydraulic pressure issues. Systems check after systems check. Max climbed out of the car, helmet off, visibly frustrated. And here is what matters. He refused to drive it. Not because it was slow. Because it was not right. That decision speaks volumes. Preseason testing is about data. Teams usually accept small imperfections just to collect laps. Red Bull did not. They chose control over panic. And that tells you something about their internal confidence. While Ferrari stacked lap counts and Mercedes worked through setup variations, Red Bull gathered something different. Information. They observed tire degradation patterns from rivals. They studied onboard footage. They listened to engine notes down the straight. Quietly. Then came the overnight shift. And this is where things get serious. Because Red Bull mechanics worked through the night refining the hydraulic system. Not patching it. Refining it. By morning, the car rolled out again. No drama. No statements. Just intent. Max's first laps were not flashy. They were measured. Installation runs. Short bursts. But even then, the car looked planted. No bouncing. No instability under braking. And if you compare onboard steering inputs from yesterday to today, the difference is clear. Yesterday, small corrections. Today, minimal input. Smooth. Controlled. And here's the detail most fans overlook. Driver confidence in testing changes the entire development direction. If the driver trusts the platform, engineers can push performance limits. If he does not, they must compromise. Today, Max's radio tone shifted. Calm. Analytical. Precise feedback. He described the RB22 as predictable. That word is powerful. Predictable means the aerodynamic balance does not suddenly shift mid-corner. Predictable means rear traction is stable on exit. Predictable means the car reacts exactly as expected when fuel burns off. And when a driver like Verstappen feels predictability, he unlocks aggression. But we are not even at the key turning point yet. Because what happened in the afternoon session changed the mood of the entire paddock. That long run. 15 laps. Medium compound. Heavy fuel. While others dropped pace after 8 or 9 laps, the RB22 maintained rhythm. Consistent lap times. No sudden spike in rear degradation. No visible overheating. And that consistency did not just impress Red Bull. It worried Mercedes. It forced Ferrari engineers to recheck their own degradation data. And this is where the psychological game begins. Testing is not only about performance. It is about perception. If rivals believe you are strong on Sunday pace, they adjust strategy before the season even starts. They might overreact. They might chase solutions that do not exist. And Red Bull knows this. But here is the deeper layer. Yesterday's failure may have been a blessing. Because it delayed their true performance reveal by 24 hours. It created doubt. It lowered expectations. And then, it amplified today's shock. That swing in narrative is powerful. From uncertainty to authority. And we are still building toward the real revelation. Because everything we have discussed so far, the hydraulic scare, the calm response, the consistent long run, all of it connects to one central idea. Red Bull is not experimenting randomly. They are executing a plan. And in the next block, we need to dissect the aggressive aerodynamic package that explains why the RB22 behaves like a different category of car in race trim. Now we go deeper. Because the real story of the RB22 is not visible at first glance. It is hidden in the airflow. When Red Bull finally removed the temporary covers in Bahrain, engineers from other teams moved closer. Not casually. Intentionally. They wanted to see the side pods. And what they saw was extreme. The air inlets are significantly smaller, tighter, more sculpted. That alone reduces drag. But the real magic is underneath. A deeper undercut that aggressively channels air toward the floor edge and diffuser entry. This is not cosmetic. It changes how the entire rear of the car behaves. More stable airflow means more consistent downforce. More consistent downforce means less sliding. Less sliding means lower tire degradation. And suddenly, that long-run pace starts to make sense. But here's where it becomes even more interesting. The engine cover packaging. Red Bull has tightened the bodywork more than Ferrari. Why can they afford to do that? Because their Ford power unit is running cooler. Roughly 12 degrees Celsius cooler than the Mercedes benchmark. That difference is enormous in Formula One terms. Cooler temperatures allow smaller cooling outlets. Smaller outlets mean less aerodynamic disruption. Less disruption means more efficient airflow to the rear wing and diffuser, which means more performance without increasing drag. It is efficiency stacked on efficiency. But we are still not done. Because the front wing geometry has changed in a subtle but critical way. The central section now features a slight scoop. The flap tips are reshaped. This is about pitch control. When the car dives under braking, most cars lose front downforce momentarily. That forces the driver to hesitate. The RB22 maintains load. That gives Max the confidence to brake later than anyone else. And confidence in braking zones is worth tenths every single lap. Now connect that to tire wear. Stable aerodynamic load means stable tire temperature. Stable tire temperature means controlled degradation. And controlled degradation wins races. But the most overlooked detail is under the floor. New vortex generators along the floor edge. Tiny aerodynamic elements that seal the underbody from turbulent air spilling off the front tires. If dirty air reaches the diffuser, performance collapses. Red Bull has protected that airflow. That is why the car looks planted in high-speed corners. No twitching. No snap oversteer. Just grip. And this is where rivals begin to worry. Because solving one of these areas is difficult. Solving all of them simultaneously suggests something else. A concept that was understood from the beginning. Not a fix. Not an emergency upgrade. A philosophy. And here's the strategic layer most fans miss. Red Bull did not reveal everything on day one. They waited. They observed competitors. Then they introduced the aggressive package after the hydraulic issue distracted the narrative. That timing is not random. It shifts perception. It destabilizes rivals psychologically. Suddenly Ferrari's single lap speed feels less dominant. Suddenly Mercedes' development path looks uncertain. And all of this is happening before the first race. But here is the subtle twist. Despite all this race pace strength, Red Bull may not top the qualifying sheets in Bahrain. Ferrari appears slightly sharper over one lap in pure low-fuel trim. And that creates a fascinating tension. Pole position versus race dominance. Saturday glory versus Sunday control. And if you understand Red Bull's history, you already know which one they value more. They build championship cars. Not highlight cars. But we are still building toward the final revelation. Because everything we have analyzed so far, the aggressive side pods, the cooler engine, the floor ceiling, the front wing stability, all of it supports one core objective. Total control over tire life across a full race distance. And in Bahrain, where rear degradation can decide strategy windows by multiple laps, that advantage becomes lethal. The question now is not whether the RB22 is fast. It is how much faster it becomes when fuel loads drop, when engine modes are fully unleashed, and when Max decides to push without holding anything back. Because if this was testing pace, what happens when the lights go out for real? But now we need to talk about the element nobody can measure with a sensor. Psychology. Because preseason testing is not just about lap times. It is about sending messages. And Red Bull sent one. After the hydraulic issue, rival teams expected vulnerability. They expected internal tension. They expected compromise. Instead, they saw composure. They saw a team that did not rush the car back out just to save face. They saw discipline. And when the RB22 returned to the track, it did not look like a car recovering from a problem. It looked prepared. That shift matters. Because Formula One engineers are human. Drivers are human. Team principals are human. When you believe a rival has solved something fundamental, it changes how you approach your own car. You start questioning your direction. You start overanalyzing your data. And sometimes, you chase performance in the wrong area. Now think about Laurent Mekies. He knows Ferrari appears strong over one lap. He knows their qualifying mode is sharp. But he also knows Bahrain punishes rear tires brutally over a race distance. And he just watched Verstappen complete a long run with almost no visible drop-off. That plants doubt. And doubt in Formula One is expensive. Because development resources are limited. If Ferrari diverts attention toward tire degradation solutions urgently, that could delay upgrades in other areas. If Mercedes tries to unlock more race pace aggressively, they risk instability. Red Bull, meanwhile, looks calm, calculated. And here is where it becomes even more strategic. Energy management. During the long runs, there was no visible clipping on the straights. No sudden drop in hybrid deployment. Power delivery remained linear. That suggests something critical. They were not running full power modes. Let that sink in. If the car can maintain that consistency without showing peak electrical deployment, then there is still margin in reserve. Margin for qualifying. Margin for defensive racing. Margin for attacking late in a stint. And this is where the championship angle becomes clear. Red Bull appears to have prioritized a stable aerodynamic platform over extreme peak downforce. Why? Because stability scales across circuits. A stable platform travels well. It adapts. It allows setup flexibility. That is how you win titles. Not by being explosive at one track, but by being strong everywhere. And remember something important. Max Verstappen thrives when the rear end is predictable. When he trusts traction. When braking zones feel stable. That is when he becomes relentless. The onboard today showed minimal steering correction. No nervous micro adjustments mid-corner. Just clean, direct inputs. That is the driving style of someone fully aligned with the machine. And when that alignment happens early in preseason, it sends a dangerous signal. Because development feedback becomes sharper, more precise, more aggressive. Now imagine this scenario. Bahrain race day. Ferrari starts from pole. Max sits second or third. The opening stint begins. Heat builds in the rear tires. Ferrari starts to slide slightly on lap 10. Max maintains pace. Lap 12. Lap 14. The undercut window opens. Red Bull extends. They protect track position through strategy instead of raw speed. And suddenly, the race flips. This is not speculation. It is a pattern we have seen before. Red Bull wins through control. Through patience. Through degradation mastery. But here is the final piece we have been building toward. Yesterday's hydraulic failure forced them to refine the system. They did not just fix it. They improved it. Sometimes early setbacks expose weaknesses before they become disasters. If that issue had appeared during a race weekend instead of testing, the consequences would be far greater. Instead, they identified it early, corrected it, strengthened the reliability baseline. So what looked like a vulnerability may actually have reinforced their foundation. And that is what makes this entire Bahrain test so significant. Because it was not about one lap, not about headlines, not about flashy statements. It was about quiet confirmation. The RB22 is stable.